On top of treating
In the
women like
celebrity
they're
news.
not normal human beings, Meghan Markle had a baby and y'all made her do a freaking press release straight out the hospital bed, jumped up out the wheelchair and straight on the news. That was good. Just clip that in and then that's it.
What's the deal?
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 Yo, what's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Hey, what's the deal?
What's good, everybody? I'm Steve Discourse,
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Jay Callie.
back with another episode of What's the Deal? What are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about Ayesha Curry. Why is the internet up in flames again?
There was a school shooting in Colorado.
That's right. And apparently now teachers will be able to carry guns to school in Florida. It's always Florida.
They packing heat. So you're just jealous. Trump taxes have been released to some degree. 10 years, we've got it.
I didn't even know that Trump filed his taxes, so apparently us regular people can't just skip out on it. Anyway, also Republicans cannot be differentiated from neo-Nazis according to the Twitter algorithm.
Hey, that's troubling, I would think.
No.
And then Trump administration last week signed a directive allowing healthcare workers to refuse services based on religious beliefs.
Okay, I feel like it's 2019. Why is this a new thing?
It's always back and forth. It's a push and
Oh,
pull.
Lord
So,
have mercy.
where do you want to start?
Let's start at the top of the list, people. We're going to jump right in with a little bit of Ayesha Curry. So, I don't know if anybody is up and abreast on what's going on, but this week, Ayesha Curry and the whole Curry, women of the Curry dynasty is what they called it, came on to the Red Table Talk, which is a Facebook show, Jada Pinkett Smith, her mom and her daughter. And they just talked about, like, what it's like to be women of the Curry clan and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so Ayesha Curry made a statement that just, it was bigger than the whole episode, according to the internet, because y'all haven't stopped talking about it. She said that, you know, every time she goes out and she's out with her man and all these women are throwing themselves at him and they're lusting after him and he's just so fine and irresistible. And men don't hit on her, they don't give her the eye, they don't flirt with her, and then she just wants a little bit of male attention sometimes to let her know that she's still got it, that she's still sexy and desirable. And for some reason, what you all heard is Ayesha Curry wants to cheat on her husband. Or Ayesha Curry is insecure and doesn't have any self-worth and doesn't value herself outside of the attention of men. Okay. I guess I heard a woman say, hey, bat your eyelashes at me so I can know I'm still cute. And it's just not that deep. So, yeah, that's just like, I don't understand why is this so sensational and why are we arguing about it and why we can't comprehend that women have duality and we're allowed to want to feel sexy and also be in love with our husbands and not want to be with anybody else. It doesn't mean that I don't want to think I'm cute, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, here, what I saw is a lot of people's insecurities flaring up.
Yeah.
And so that's how they wanted to respond because, like, a lot of guys, you know, jumped on and say, oh, the double standard, right? What if Steph said that, this, that, and the third, right? We'd be dead ass wrong. And I don't know, I must be weird or something because I don't have a lot of that. Like, I feel like men who immediately click to a lot of things like that and had such a defensive reaction have, like, I don't have trauma like that from women in my dating life.
Right.
Where as soon as somebody says something about their life, I immediately get defensive and need to pipe up as if somebody accused me of something personally. Like, so that was the weird thing to me is just insecurities are insecurities, right? And they're not rational necessarily. Guys are like, oh, you got A and B and C and this and that and the third. And if a guy said it, it's like, well, most of the time insecurity is not based out of people going, well, I have a good job. My bank account's pretty good. My family loves me. Damn, life is terrible. Like, that's not how an insecurity works. It's the brain
It's just
chemistry
there,
or something, right? And
right.
so the fact that so many people jumped on is more a sign to me about what's going on in the minds of the people who had a strong reaction to that.
I actually can really agree with that because I felt like people were projecting. Like, oh, so are you telling me that you have no value Or it could have been that, but it also could have just been people being shocked that someone as beautiful, quote unquote, as Ayesha Curry could also have an insecurity, or someone who's rich and someone who's been okay. So another thing that I've heard a lot of people talking about, she's been very outspoken about like women who desire male attention for validation and saying things like, "Oh, I see you all are out here showing off everything, all skin out. I like to keep the good stuff covered up for the one who matters." So it's like, okay. Or she even said, can I just like go out and pump my gas without all these men trying to holler at me? I'm taken off the market. So it was
Wait,
like,
she said that
yeah.
in the past? See,
She said that in 2011. So it's like, Ayesha, don't forget that you outwardly told the world, do not hit on me. Do not flirt with me. I will not show my legs in a short skirt. I will wear a prayer cloth when I go out in public each day. So it's like, you can't be surprised now that A, people respect you because you've made it clear that you ain't giving nobody the time of day, and that people respect your husband, and everyone knows you're never, ever going to leave him. You're never going to cheat on him. Why would I waste my time and energy trying to bat the lashes at you? So I get it from that perspective, but I don't think it's anything wrong with her saying, I mean, well, damn, I at least want a nigga to look me up and down on the sneak, and then I catch him and be like, haha, still got it. I get that. I
Right.
get it. She
It was-
could have kept it to herself.
it was a lot of people just coming from their own perspectives,
Right.
on their own issues.
Right.
You know, because well, and first of all, there's a lot of guys talking about. I mean, a lot of people jump right to the idea of cheating, but that's not what she said.
Right. It has nothing to do with cheating.
Like, I
Wanting
flirted
someone
with
to
women
flirt,
just for
yeah,
the sake of it,
for
necessarily,
fun.
just because we were talking and some, it was a nice little interaction, and you're flirty. Okay, you move on with the rest of your life. It doesn't necessarily mean she wanted somebody to really like get at
Right.
her, get at her. So I don't know. I think a lot of men out here, we don't like to talk about our insecurities. We don't even like to really, a lot of times, delve into what's going on with our emotional intelligence and our side and everything. And I think a lot of men were just flaring up old issues and arguments they've had with other people and things like that. And they were feeling some kind of way because they felt implicated.
Exactly. So it's all a whole big mess, and people are literally still talking about it all over my timeline. So, I mean, hopefully by the time this weekend blows over, y'all talking about another shorty y'all met on the internet or whatever.
Right, yeah. But I'm also weird, too, because a lot of times like this, I'm like, I don't understand what guys are doing. So I'm a weirdo a lot of times, and I'm in a very different way.
Yeah, no one ever understands what guys are doing. Y'all living in your own
But
world.
we usually understand each other.
That's
But I'm
true.
over here just going, I don't understand that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have to face those same problems.
Well, and this is all I have to say. This is my closing statement. Leave that woman alone. Did I sound like Steve Harvey?
I see it a little bit now, maybe. After you said it, after you pointed it out.
I was trying to sound like Steve.
Did you see the picture of him with like
With the
Chris
hat?
Tucker with the hat, and somebody called him Darkwing Duck? That was so funny.
I still don't know if I like Steve Harvey or not. Most days I feel like, I cannot stand him.
He
In
does
real
a
life,
good
I
job
don't
of
like
really
him.
stepping far one way or
And
the
then
other.
the other,
Yeah.
exactly. He keeps
So,
the duality running, just like Ayesha Curry. Anyway.
All right. So Twitter, let's jump into Twitter because I
Okay.
think we can keep this, kind of jovial banter going
Okay,
a
let's
little
do
bit.
it.
So Twitter, like most social media, is trying to reel in their users and like get some quality control and content control. And they announced recently that the algorithm that they had developed to try and weed out like white supremacists was catching up like a few Republican lawmakers.
And they should have
in this
blocked
thing.
him. Yeah.
And they were like, we don't know if this is going to be the right route or not because we keep getting Republics caught
It's
up
the
in
right
this,
route.
like
They are
actual
neo-Nazis.
elected officials.
Right.
Right. So I just think if your preferred party and your elected officials happen to be confused for white supremacists based on the words that come out of their mouth, it may be a little bit deeper than just confusion. You may have to do some soul searching. You may have to actually honestly think, what do the words that you're using mean?
Words have meanings, people. They do. They mean things.
Right? So I don't know. This was just hilarious and sad at the same time to me.
The thing, so I got two thoughts when you said that. My first thought was, dang, son, they disappeared. I had two. Okay, I remember one of them. One of them was better, but it's going to come
Okay.
back later. Here's
Yeah.
the thing. If Louis Farrakhan is being blocked from using Facebook because of the words he used are considered to be rousing people up and hateful and blah, 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 then he's he's not an elected official, but he's a public figure. So if other public figures are getting caught up in these same types of algorithms, then we have to say, okay, that means that it is factual that you are saying things that are hateful, that are rousing people up. And if we're saying that's not permitted on this platform, they should be booted off the platform. Period. We're not going to say, oh, man, but he's the senator of whatever. We can't get rid of him. No, he got pulled up as a person who needs to get the boot. You can either boot him or say, hey, yo, you need to clarify and clean up this speech because next time this happens, we cutting you.
Right.
The second thought came back. It was
Yeah.
that we live in a time where our platforms, social platforms, need to start saying, hey, the world is so hateful and people are being so mean to each other. We need to create algorithms that tell us who's being the most hateful so we can stop them from using social media. Like, how did we get here? People have always been hateful, but people like to say, well, as a nation, the United States like to say, oh, it's post-racial, do-do-do. People don't even pretend anymore. We're like, we are in a fucking race war. And Mark Zuckerberg, we need you to do something about it. Twitterbird, we need you to do something about it. Do something.
Twitterberg. Look, but here, all right, so we didn't actually have this plan to talk about, but this happened last week when we were not here. We apologize. Anyway, Facebook banned, Louis Farrakhan as well as some others.
Yeah.
And it kind of got a lot of people upset. A lot of people in my circles were mad about Farrakhan, but here's my thing. This is what's going to happen. If you want Mark Zuckerberg, through his team, right, not literally him necessarily, to decide who can say this or that or can't, this is what's going to happen. Like the way you're feeling about Louis Farrakhan, people on the other side of the political spectrum are feeling the same way.
Right.
And while you may think it's not the same in their kind of the content that they're sharing, the fact of the matter is when you talk about censorship, it's going to be the same. People are going to be upset on both sides. So Mark Zuckerberg is on the record time and again of totally screwing the pooch.
Oh, don't ever say that again.
With privacy, that was like the least offensive language I could use.
That
I
was
really wanted to
very
say something.
offensive. I'm
I
offended.
wanted to say something more vulgar, but it's a family show. But like Facebook is on the record of really ruining our privacy.
Yeah.
And doing the wrong kind of filtering, right? We have racist white supremacist ideology that's coming through. Meanwhile, black activists get censored for regular posts all the time, or
Right.
even just average black people who post something critical, right? And so he's already on the record of Facebook being an absolute mess when it comes to like the greater good. They're a tech company, absolutely. Do they innovate? Absolutely. Do they know what they're doing with tech? Absolutely. Do they know what they're doing in the social context, in the broader world? They have no idea, and there's no reason we should think we can trust them. But everybody was like, yeah, Mark, get those right-wing neo-Nazis. Oh, what? You accidentally got somebody who's kind of far on the left too? You've gone too far. But that's what's going to happen. If you want censorship, it's going to happen, and it's going to cut both ways. So to me, and this might be an unpopular stance, I don't think we should be having any censorship. It's a fact of the internet now. Like, these people existed, but their message could only get from me to you if you were in the room to hear my voice. And that's all it could get. But now the internet can literally connect that voice in that room to anybody else or to the whole planet, right? And that's just what we're going to have to live with, honestly, because unless you want to deal with censorship. And who do you trust?
Right.
Think about this. All right, and then I'll end my rant. Think about this. Who is doing the censorship for Facebook? It's not Mark Zuckerberg.
Right, no, it's
It's
not.
a team. What's the team? The team is probably slobs like you and me, just average folks.
First of all,
Not you, not
Oh,
not
okay.
Jay Callie and me. You, collective you, and not the listeners who support us, obviously, but me and the other slobs, right? is just like average ass people, right? And then what do? They were on Monster and they were like, oh, job at Facebook? Bet. Okay. And what do? You
Right.
walk in, you get a stale cup of coffee, and they roll the TV into the room and they play a video like, this is what you need to censor. And you're like, got a job. And then you go and start censoring people. Like, there's not a crack team of world premiere experts going in saying, okay, it's our job to save the world. No, these are regular ass people. And this is what you want to trust? Is this your king, Mark Zuckerberg? Like, why would you ever trust this organization? You wouldn't trust somebody walking down the street to say, hey, I don't think you should say that. You'd be like, fuck you. But you want to trust that person when they get a job at Facebook?
Right.
No way.
Oh my God.
No way.
Ooh, that was a good rant. Oh, he's excited. No, I felt that. That's real. Like, and you don't think about it because when you say like censorship or this is happening at Facebook or at Twitter, you automatically picture like all these like smart techie men in suits coming in and being like, well, according to the code FZR Z32, and it's like, nah, it's not. It's Steve. Steve works at Facebook. He's censoring you.
Janet and Phil, who just spilled jelly from the donut in the break room on his shirt, is back at his desk.
Wild.
He's annoyed. He's like, can I get out of here? You know what he's doing? He's cruising Facebook while he's supposed to be working, like all of us do. You know what I mean?
I don't do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't either. Never have, of course. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just who are you actually asking?
Wow. I mean, and you just totally shifted the way that I'm going to think about it because honestly, I wasn't picturing it that way until you just gave me that totally awesome rant. So, yeah, people, protect your own. Protect your own, okay?
Yeah. So it's going to be about, we're going to have to do, I don't know, better job of just taking breaks from social media maybe, or insulating or filtering it on our own.
Can I give an update? Because I'm proud of
what do
me.
you got?
I deleted my social media apps yesterday. I don't know if this is something that should be celebrated or if it's just a testament to the fact that I was so I could not control myself, and I was always on social media, so I just deleted them. I've been itching for a clicking. No, I got rid of them. I will still listen. Don't judge me if you see me on Instagram, okay? I did not delete my Instagram. That's the only one I kept. I'm not ready. That's how I keep in contact with my friends. The other stuff I'm goofing off on. I deleted my Twitter, my Facebook, my Snapchat. I got rid of it. Okay. But yeah, I will still be catching me on Insta stories tonight, y'all.
Okay.
Follow me. Okay, that's it.
Oh, where should we go next?
I don't know because you just decided to jump ship and go in your own direction. So
You know
you're
what?
taking the wheel today.
I had to storm the barn on that one. All right, so should we go to a little sort of, the Trump tax thing is sort of a good news. It's kind of fun for people.
All right,
or
let's
should
go
we do
there.
that? Or should we go to teachers with guns and
No, that's
school
sad.
shootings?
No, do the Trump
Okay.
taxes. Let's talk about the president.
So the time you've all been waiting for has arrived. The New York Times posted 10 years of tax documents from Trump, and the results are not good. So
is anyone
look,
surprised?
there's not a lot to say about this because it's just, like what are the little facts here, right? But the quick rundown is like over 10 years, he lost $1 billion. There was a lot of losses over these years for his businesses. He reported a lot of income or a little bit of income. Some years it was tens of millions. Some years it was a couple million. It's kind of wildly all over the place. So there's speculation as to how and why, what was behind the scenes causing all of that fluctuation. But he lost a lot of money. And I mean, to quote the Business Insider, to paraphrase him because I don't know what the exact quote is, but they were like, it paints a picture of like an empire nearly in ruin, business empire nearly in ruin from 85 to 94.
From 85 to 94?
Yeah. So, of course, he could have like righted the boat after that. But all the news and journalism that's been out about his bankruptcies and Trump University and all these businesses that have been super shady in their success failure has been publicized. So it's out. And again, this to me kind of feels like the Mueller report thing where it's like, okay, look, here we have it. But I don't know what we were really hoping to find. So we're going to have, to me, the real news is going to be action. What's going to happen out of this? And now we have the information, but I don't know taxes, right? Like, all right, I see these numbers up, down, wins, losses.
Yeah, I don't know it.
But the real news is going to be the action. Does something happen out of this, right?
No.
Because a lot of when you get political like this, or even legal, a lot of legality is political. Do we have the case? Do we have the strength or the will to hold someone accountable or not, or whatever it is? So we're just going to have to wait and see. But it's juicy. It's salacious. It's gossipy. If you want to go, you can check the rundowns. But that's the most information I think that's really worth sharing. So we're going to see what happens. But there's no case of like criminality yet, but I'm not a tax expert.
That's true. It doesn't sound like there's any criminality going on, just a whole bunch of suspicious kind of behavior that everybody already, we weren't aware of it because it wasn't factual, but we believe that it was there. Nothing here is shocking. Nothing here looks like, oh my God, we thought he was having an upstanding citizen reporting his taxes and his income, and in fact, it looks like he's lying and making things up. No.
Right.
We knew already. And the thing is, maybe I'm a pessimist when it comes to the American government holding big political figures accountable for what they do, or holding rich people, millionaires, billionaires at large accountable for what they do. But they probably aren't going to do anything to him. They might make him pay a fine. But when you're a billionaire, it's a fine.
You get
Things
slapped
that
on the
other
wrist.
people would literally get in so much trouble. So, yeah, and when you say, oh, what are they going to do? Nothing. I wonder if it's going to get handled. No. Okay? That's the president. That's the freaking president.
Right. So yeah, no smoking gun, no
Right.
silver bullet yet.
No.
So,
No.
but it's out there. The information's out there, and then there's people saying, "Well, technically, this is a violation of his like right to privacy and things." And it's like, yeah, that might
Is
be
it?
true too. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's his personal. It's his personal document.
What the hell is a right to privacy? What amendment? What amendment?
No,
Shut up.
I never heard of it.
Shut up.
Yeah,
COINTELPRO.
So, but yeah, it's kind of like it was documents were released recently from the killing of Oscar Grant back in 2009 or 11, and it was like documentation came out that the officer was lying about A, B, and C, and it's sort of the same thing. It was like, all right, we all kind of knew that there was video to show what was going on,
Right.
but here we have actually documented proof, and so again, it's always about what's the action going to be able to be taken off of this. So.
Good load.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about gun violence?
Can we switch up the tempo a little bit here? There has been
Oh, you know what? Because we always forget to do this. Can we formally announce a break and run the break real quick?
just do it.
All right. We'll be right back.
While we're on this break, we want to remind you, do not forget to share the podcast. Share it to all of your social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag What's the Deal Pod whenever you share anything. And like and subscribe the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you listen. Thanks for spreading the love. You know we appreciate you. Welcome back, everyone. You already know it's your girl, Jay Callie.
Steve Discourse back again. What's the deal? So we got a story, another tragedy, as if we didn't have enough tragedies last week
know, right?
when we were off. What happened in Colorado?
So this past week in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, there was, shocking, another school shooting. I kind of want to talk about it because I want people to be informed, and I need people to get a little fire under their ass to make some changes around here. And we're going to talk about how later we're not making the right type of changes, but also it's sad. But there's another school shooting, like I said, in Colorado, where 2 suspects have been taken in. One student is, well, he's 18 years old, so I'm going to assume he's a student, didn't say, is dead. 8 other students are now injured. And it's just kind of horrible because the suspects were also students from the school. So it begs the question of what's happening not only in our country, but within like our education system and within our communities, where students feel like their only way out is to shoot up their own school and to murder their own classmates. Like, where's the logic? I couldn't imagine being a student today. I'm a teacher, so honestly, it's really scary for me going into school building, not because I think my students are going to shoot it up, because my students are literally like 7 years old, but because the community. So I've already talked about this. I'm not going to go into it too much. I couldn't imagine working in a middle or high school and just being like, okay, kids shoot up schools. Copycat behaviors, you see an influx. Once it happens once, it kind of has to take its peak and then start to go down. So we're definitely moving towards the peak. I don't really have a whole lot planned to say other than we need new gun reform. I've said it a million times. What are we actually going to do to keep our country safe? Mm-hmm. We need to start making action plans as like civilians, because we can't, at this point, it's clear to me that we can't depend on our government or our lawmakers to do what we need them to do. We need to come up with this on our own.
Well, I mean, Florida has a solution, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, I mean, how interesting is it that one of the suspects is a female? Okay,
so let's talk about it. There is an 18-year-old suspect currently in custody. His name is Devin Erickson. He is, I can't say that he's the shooter, but that's what people believe. And there is another juvenile suspect in custody, 17 years old, has been identified as a girl. Girls don't typically do these types of things. These are crimes that are usually testosterone fueled. I'm being biased. Sorry. Girls don't do this. It's very shocking. I read it and I was like, Steve, am I reading this correctly? It says that the suspect is a girl. Does that mean that the suspect is a girl? I'm shocked. I just don't know how to take this. What? I'm at a loss, honestly, because I feel like everything that I could possibly say about this story, other than the fact that it's a girl who shot up the school, is like things that we've said so many times.
And so she was a shooter? There were two shooters?
It says suspect.
A suspect. So maybe she helped
There were
plan
two
it.
shooters. That's what it says.
Or was there two shooters? Okay.
There was two shooters. And so if there's two shooters and two suspects, then I'm going to assume that the two suspects are the two shooters.
Right.
Deductive
Okay.
reasoning. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't know what that means, right? We're going to have to wait to see how this parses out and if we find out any information more about
right.
What really inspired them and everything. I mean, I think the other really kind of, I don't want to say splashy detail about this because that sounds weird, but a lot of people have been talking about there was another boy in the school
mm-hmm.
who picked up a bat. Allegedly, he got up a bat and he was ready to fight.
That was my other point.
And there's a lot of people. Yeah. Okay. So
here we go. Children at this point have to walk into school buildings and figure out if they're going to have to fight for their lives today. And specifically in this case, there was a 12-year-old boy who kind of made headlines this week because he went on the news and he was kind of recounting what happened. He goes, yeah, I could hear the gunshots from up the hallway and our teacher kind of shuffled us behind the desk. But then as the gunshots got closer, we all went inside the closet. And as we were just sitting there scared, I decided, I picked up a metal bat and I was holding on to it because I knew that if I was going to go down, I was going to go down fighting. And it was just like a little bit jostling and a little alarming to hear someone who's 12 years old, A, talking about a shooter in their school, but B, saying, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down fighting. Because you're a child and that shouldn't be what you have to think about or even consider when you went to school to learn. But also because, wow, you're a child and that's a very strong and powerful statement. You probably don't even realize what you just said. And the news anchor goes, I'm sorry, how old are you? And he said, I'm 12 and a half. I'm 12. And it's like, what? You're young. It just is a reminder. Children say things like, oh, I'm 8 and a half. I'm 12 and a half.
Right.
He still counts and a half as part of his age, and he has to defend himself with a metal bat from an active shooter in his establishment of education.
And it probably is as much a reflection of the fact that he's conditioned now in a way, right? Like the first time one of these jumped off, in this latest epidemic of school shootings, nobody was thinking that because it was so out of the realm of predictability, right? And now you just got to wonder, did he have that sort of fight or flight kind of mentality partially because he knows that these things can happen. So are kids reacting now in the moment differently than they used to, right? With a more somber kind of not this, not once in a million, never heard of this horror happening.
Right.
Now it's like, oh my God, it's happening to us.
That's
to where
it.
now kids are
That's
like,
it.
I
What I'm
guess
gonna
I'm going
do.
to fight this
Yeah,
time.
what am I gonna do?
Because I know a lot of people going down like this. And it's, I mean, that's the wild thing to me.
And to that point, there was a group of students, I believe it said that they were seniors when the shooter came into their classroom, was like, okay, we got to be fighters today. And they tackled him. They tried to take the gun. One of them ended up getting shot in the chest, and the other classmates kind of swarmed and put pressure on the wound. And it's like, these kids, you can tell that they weren't necessarily caught by surprise where they were just like running and screaming, but they were like, active shooter. I've already kind of known that if this happened, I was going to have to fight. Because I don't know if this is the first time it's happened, but this is the first time where I've heard of kids being like, I'm going to fight back, or that kids did fight back, that they tackled, that they tried to take away. Like, you don't hear it, but after a while, you start to think like, well, what if a shooter comes in my school? I'm going to have to fight. So when it happens, you're ready. You're ready to go. These kids sounded kind of like they were ready to go because they've had to plan for something like this because it happens so often. I'm proud of them, those that fought back, those that knew that, hey, if he comes into this room, I'm going to fight back. Yeah. It's sad because I don't want kids to feel like they have to put themselves in the direct line of fire like that. But the truth is, someone has to. Someone has to. So can we switch over to Florida now?
Yeah.
Apparently, in the United States of America, the people who are expected to go and jump into the line of fire and bust back is the teachers. The teachers. Okay? It shouldn't be the students. It shouldn't be the teachers. It should be a trained official who is able to, first of all, stop these types of attacks from happening, not to even defend yourselves from them. So in Florida, this past Wednesday, a bill was passed that teachers will be permitted to carry handheld guns and keep them, inside the classroom for protection.
This just has a million problems written all over it,
Hold
which
up.
we've really talked about.
Florida don't know what they doing. It's always something saucy and raunchy going on in Florida. I don't trust people in Florida to protect anybody. They're the main ones doing wild stuff. And I'm sorry, Florida, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining a stand your ground case. You know,
That's the first thing that came in my
where
mind.
here's a teacher, maybe a physical altercation happens because kids fight in schools, physically fight, right? Maybe a fight breaks out and a teacher says, I'm afraid for my life, bang, bang, and a student is dead. And
That's it.
That's
a student.
That's the tragedy first and foremost. But then B, can you imagine now if this teacher invokes a stand my ground defense and now is off the hook, right? I mean, I can't really imagine a teacher wanting to ever be in that situation, so I'm not saying that they'll be looking, but we know how bias happens and how, how it comes out in the way kids are, suspended, how kids are being arrested for school misbehavior these days. Like, there's a lot of wild stuff happening in the way we're disciplining children in schools. And then you look at police in the wild disparities in the way that they can take some of these shooters alive, but then they can have a traffic stop where people end up dead. And if this is police who are not well trained but are supposed to be well trained, and you would hope are well trained, these teachers have to take a seminar.
That's what it says.
A gun safety seminar from the sheriff's office. That's not enough for me.
That's not
to
enough.
put my children's life at risk.
I need more details.
Like, we need.
Quite frankly, it doesn't matter the details. It's not enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's just a zillion ways this can go wrong.
It's scary.
And to be honest with you, I've sort of been on the fence for a lot of this about, well, we do have the Second Amendment right and everything like that.
No.
But also we do need to, regulate gun ownership. But at the same time, it's things can change. And whether that's part of the Constitution or not, it might now be a detriment. It might. A lot of people are going to go, no shit, Steve, it's a detriment, right? But we might be at the point where it's like, all right, yeah, really time to revisit that whole idea, because the bottom line is if we got a couple, we got guns and things like that. The government, if we're protecting ourselves from the government, they got drones and all types of stuff and tanks that we're going to be hard-pressed to really defend ourselves anyway. And you know what? Civil wars happen all the time, B. They happen all over the world in places where they don't have a Second Amendment right?
That's true.
And people get massacred and slaughtered, and then the U.S. loves to intervene, so other countries intervene and stuff. It's messy, but like this whole Second Amendment right to bear arms and have a militia and stuff and defend ourselves from the government, it just has less and less power over the debate, I think, because everything is just getting so much out of hand.
Extremely out of hand. And here's the thing: when you're talking about Second Amendment rights and as a professional, and I know many of our listeners are also professionals, you know that once children or youth or adolescents or minors become a part of the equation, laws are adjusted. Codes of ethics become adjusted to reflect that these people haven't given consent because they're not legally able to the things that are happening around them. What's going on inside the school building when we're talking about children? Okay, well, because they didn't specify high school, elementary, middle, high. It just says teachers. No, you can't just have someone walking around with a gun. When my child goes there, and if that was my kid, I would pull them out of that school. Like, I would not have my kid go to a school where I knew that their teacher had a gun.
Right.
Because I don't trust you.
No, I mean, we know, kids in households with guns at are a much higher risk of getting shot.
Right.
And that's their parents who we're just going to assume love them and want them to be safe and completely cared for. And now you're talking about, teachers who, like, times have changed. I don't know you. You're not the teacher who lives a block down from me. And the world is so much bigger. We're all much more spread apart. So I don't know you the way that we used to in generations past, right? Like when my dad was growing up and like, if he got in trouble, one of the neighbors would see it and that's how he'd get caught because the neighbor would tell, his parents, and that's how, that's not how the society operates anymore. So I don't know you. I don't know the administrator. I don't know the classmates' parents. We like just don't have that tight knit anymore to where I want a complete stranger, well-meaning, you're a teacher and I appreciate everything you do, but a complete stranger having deadly force, my child's life in their hands possibly. And I know it's intended to protect against shooters, but I just see this coming out in other ways. Accidental firings or just grossly inappropriate use of it, because now it's there. It's intended for mass shooters, but who knows? Some situation comes off and a teacher is going to shoot that gun in a situation that's not a mass shooter. We already have situations of like school resource officers. One actually, just a week and a half ago, let me just pull this thing up. There was a school resource officer and the gun accidentally fired in the cafeteria.
Accidentally? Why is your hand on the gun?
Well,
that's what, why?
So
what's going on?
I mean, the point is there's just going to be so many guns in Florida schools and so little training by these teachers. A seminar, not enough for me. I'm going to need you to have years of experience. I want you to be like combat ready for active shooter situations and stuff. I don't want you to go on a 4-hour or even 10-hour retreat thing on a Saturday or whatever it takes. That's not enough. I want some intensive training. And that's still not even enough for me.
And no matter how much training you give a regular person, I will never trust them enough to be in a room full of children with a gun. Never. I don't trust myself. I will go to the training and be like, I don't even want to have this gun. I don't even want kids to get in my car. Get them kids out. I don't want nobody's life in my hands. And as soon as a kid becomes part of the equation, their life is in your hands, regardless, because they are a child and they cannot do anything other than cower and seek protection. You automatically become their protector. I don't want that responsibility. I don't.
And are you going to shoot at the shooter and hit a child accidentally? I
don't want the responsibility, period. And it's hard for me because I can see the perspective of, well, what are we all going to do? Just sit around like sitting ducks waiting to be executed? I do believe someone should be there protecting them, but I don't think that arming all the teachers is the way to go. It's just, it leaves, the margin for error is huge. Oh, God. I'm getting overwhelmed just thinking about it. Nope, can't do it.
Because what do you have? You have the gun in the desk drawer? That sounds terrible.
It's probably, I'm sure that there's something that it has to be in like a lockbox with a safety code. I'm certain that they're just not like, just, put it up high where the kids can't reach, because that works.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of safety precautions that will go into it. I'm just not feeling like any amount of safety precautions would make me feel like it justifies any number of teachers in the building having a gun.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah. I didn't read exactly any details about where the guns will be. So in the research that I was doing, but you're right, it's probably stipulated somewhere. So, all right, last story. What was it?
Trump admin, healthcare, religious.
Oh yeah, say that. Okay, so controversial topic alert ahead. We haven't even talked about these abortion bills that have been trying to go through. But so the Trump administration, the Department of Health, released a directive, some guidelines last week, saying that basically expanding the religious rights of healthcare providers to refuse offering services to patients in need. And this, to me, is that's basically it. That's the story. There's not really a lot to say. It was a directive. It was written, and then so that's it. To me, this is a major problem because, and I think we go back to this in a lot of other public debates we have about what it means to have religious freedom. And some people mistake religious freedom for like versus a religious oppression or something like that. And so they say it's necessary for my religious freedom that I don't provide this healthcare service. But that's not what it's about. You're in the wrong industry. I'm sorry. If you got a job where you know your religion is going to be in direct conflict with what you got to do, I think you need to find a different industry. Okay. Right? And that's the problem, because if I'm coming in here and I need your help and you don't want to give it, okay, is there another provider around? Sure, maybe. How long is that going to take? What if I'm in a place that's uber religious and everybody in the hospital really wants to invoke this, and now it becomes even harder and harder to find someone in the building or in the area to provide this service? What if it's time sensitive, right? There's so much that can go wrong because while you think it's a religious freedom, you've chosen to get into this industry, and I need this care. I didn't choose to come in here and be like, hook it up with a new spleen, right? Not that anybody's going to refuse that, right? But whatever the case may be, right? And I get that there's birth control or something silly like that, which I think is even still a thin argument to claim that it's on religious grounds. But like, that's not immediately urgent. But the fact of the matter is, I'm in here for the health and well-being of my physical body. It's not up to you. If you're not comfortable doing your job, you need to find another industry. And that's just flat out how I view it.
I mean, I have thoughts on the same, but you really just summed it up quite nicely. There's no reason for anyone to be working in a field where they can't do the work. And also, you have morality and you get to choose. That's the thing. Your religion is not, first of all, your religion should not dictate your life. It should guide your life. You choose not to do the work because you do not want to do it. It's not religion stopping you. It's your own choice. It's your own desire. Nothing can make you do anything. You always get to choose. So you are actually showing me that you have some sort of distaste, or I don't want to say hatred because it's a strong word, but if you're not going to save somebody's life, then I feel like that's hatred. And you're choosing to let your own hate navigate the choices you make around morality, even though you made a pledge to do what you can and to do your best. You don't want to, and that's all it actually boils down to. You don't want to do it.
Yeah, so it's again, it's just a slippery slope of where people think that their rights to religious freedom are being impinged, and limited. But I'm sorry, it's just not that. I know you feel that way.
They need to sign their names and say, I have this religion that prohibits me from doing these things, so we can round everybody up that has decided to go against their oath. Are these doctors we're talking about, or just any health doctors included in this?
It's pretty blanket, yeah.
Yeah, so they can get the boot. They're out.
Well,
that's it.
So yeah, so what happens if you do that? If nursing programs and medical schools, now do they have a religious question on the application?
They need to, because you know what?
Do you have any ethical issues with doing A, B, and C, and D?
They absolutely need to.
Because we're not going to waste time training you if you're not going to do these things.
Give them the boot. And you know what's going to happen?
Supreme Court.
No, you start, yes, but you say, listen, if these things are going to affect your ability to work, then you actually are going to pack up and go. I bet you they're going to make a different choice. Even though my religion prohibits it, I'm going to go ahead and do this open heart surgery. yeah, you get your ass in there and save that man's life and stop acting dumb.
People are so mad.
You get fired.
People are so mad right now. They're like, we're not talking about open heart surgery, you idiots.
I don't care.
It's
That's
like-
what I'm thinking because
Right.
one day that's where it's going to lead to. Once you give somebody a little wedge, give them a shoe in, they bust the door open and take advantage. Now, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to deny this person this life-altering surgery or whatever. I don't care if you don't want to prescribe the medication. All right, they won't write this prescription because of religion. And then it spirals and it snowballs,
I
and next
see.
thing you
And
know,
then they
it's a
expand
big
what-
deal.
what
No,
falls in that scope.
Start clipping them now so everybody up top that's even thinking about it knows. You didn't go through 25 years of school to get fired because of your religion. No, you get to choose. So what's your choice? Yeah, that's right. Hold
Yeah.
them. Hold them to it.
We should leave it right there.
I'm done. Dropping the
Cool.
mic.
We're done too.
Come on,
I'm
Thanos.
done.
Let's bounce.
Oh yeah. Shout out to the Thanos toy in studio.
All right. Yeah, I'm
Hold
done.
it up and click it to them.
Listen, y'all. That's annoying. Why would you make me do that?
I don't know. I think it was funny. People like sounds. We got to stimulate
No.
more than just words. Sound is important. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in once again. Also want to give a shout out to WOL News, where information is power, for supporting us. We're up on
Thank
their
you.
website, WOLDCnews.com, and you can keep catching us wherever you normally catch us. And with that said, I'm Steve Discourse.
It's your girl, Jay Callie.
That's the deal.
All right, people. Thanks so much for tuning in another week. What's the Deal podcast
You can follow us on social media,
at Steve Discourse.
and you can catch Jay Callie.
It's Jay Callie, ITSJAYCALLI.
We got to send a big shout out to Clifford Cartel for composing our theme music. And wherever you listen to this, make sure you subscribe,
Family, subscribe,
write us a review,
share the podcast. Subscribe to it wherever you listen.
share it with your friends, family, your loved ones. Heck, share it with your enemies. We don't care. Just help us spread that word. We truly appreciate it. Before we start,
Okay.
I wanted to bestow a little gift to
You're
you.
playing, but I'll take it.
I'm not. Oh, I'm playing.
Oh, wait.
You better be careful.
Uh-oh.
You don't want to. You don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
No. Oh! How'd you get your hands on this, buddy?
What is it?
It's Thanos. Steve, this is a gift. This
See?
is this just because you're a great friend, or is it because
Yeah.
it's Teacher's Appreciation Week?
All of that.
I feel good. It's a Thanos. This isn't an action figure. It's a figurine. For those of you who, I'm going to assume that you're going to let this be on the show. So for those of you who don't know, I am a huge Thanos enthusiast. Team Thanos forever. Even though, he died and arguably was wrong. Thanos till I die, shorty. I'm proud. I'm gluing this to the dashboard in my car. So every day when I don't feel good or when I don't feel like I'm committed to my mission, I will say, this man was willing to lay down his life for the cause. Okay, this man wanted to create a utopian society, and by golly, he did it. It didn't last long, but he did it. This is commitment.
And it wasn't maybe utopian, but it was what he wanted.
Well, we didn't see what it was like on other countries. Just because you ingrates on Earth didn't like it doesn't mean the universe wasn't happy and proud. We all assumed that everyone was miserable just
Right.
because we missed our cousins. I don't know about that.